Nigeria is standing at the edge of a historic cliff, and just when the people thought they had seen it all, a voice rose from the dust, shook the political landscape, and delivered a message that now echoes in the hearts of millions. It wasn't a whisper, it wasn't a plea, it was a bombshell. Dino Melaye, a name that has become both controversial and captivating, dropped a statement that sent shockwaves through the nation. Open quote, "The 2027 election will not be between PDP and APC. It will be between Nigeria and APC," close quote. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. Not a battle of political parties, not just a contest of power, of candidates, of promises, but a war, yes, a war between a wounded nation and the very structure that many now believe has held it hostage. You see, this wasn't just a political statement. It was a cry for survival, a warning, a mirror held up to the soul of Nigeria, forcing every citizen to ask a painful question. Open quote, "What kind of country are we becoming?" Close quote. To understand the weight of Dino's words, we must revisit the road that brought us here. We must relive the journey of betrayal, false hope, shattered dreams, and a democracy slowly gasping for breath. Since 1999, Nigeria has worn the costume of civilian rule. We've gone to the polls, we've elected presidents, we've applauded peaceful handovers. But beneath this surface of democracy lies a truth most painful. Our system has remained a playground for the elite, a prison for the poor. It was 2015 when the All Progressives Congress, the APC, emerged as the so-called savior of the Nigerian people. They promised us change. They sold us dreams. They told us that corruption would end, insecurity would fade, jobs would rise, and the economy would bloom. But what followed? Pain, hunger, frustration, death, silence. The naira collapsed. Fuel vanished. Terrorists found comfort. Graduates found despair. And the average Nigerian, the market woman, the jobless graduate, the struggling teacher, the broken civil servant, was left asking, open quote, "Where is the change we were promised?" Close quote. By 2023, hope returned. The youth rose like never before. They sang, they marched, they organized, they voted. But again, we saw the same movie. Ballot boxes snatched, votes manipulated, power stolen. And now, just as the nation begins to adjust to yet another round of broken promises, Dino Melaye, never afraid to speak, breaks the silence again. But who is Dino Melaye? Is he a saint? No. Is he controversial? Yes. But is he afraid of speaking truth to power? Absolutely not. Dino has tasted the venom of Nigerian politics. He's been harassed, arrested, ridiculed. He's been mocked for his lifestyle, criticized for his boldness. Yet through it all, he has remained one of the few politicians unafraid to stand before the lion and speak truth, raw, loud, and fearless. And now he's saying what millions are thinking, but are too afraid to say out loud. Open quote, "The 2027 election is no longer a party affair. It's a rescue mission." Close quote. He's saying that the APC is no longer just a political party. It's a symbol of everything going wrong. It represents a failed economy. It represents a system that no longer listens. It represents a machine that feeds the elite and bleeds the poor. It represents broken dreams, endless pain, and unfulfilled promises. And in his voice, we hear the voice of every Nigerian mother who lost a child to insecurity. We hear the voice of every graduate roaming the streets with a folder full of CVs and empty stomachs. We hear the voice of farmers driven from their lands, of children learning under trees, of workers paid peanuts after months of silence. This is not just Dino's voice. This is the voice of Nigeria, tired, betrayed, but not defeated. And yet his warning is not without danger, because what he said doesn't just threaten APC. It threatens the foundation on which the ruling class has built their fortress. It shifts the narrative. It removes the blindfold. It forces the people to realize that their real enemy may not be the opposition, but the system that keeps failing them. And if Nigerians begin to see the system as the true enemy, not tribalism, not religion, not region, then that becomes the most dangerous weapon against the status quo. Because for years, politicians have used division to control us. North versus South, Christian versus Muslim, Yoruba versus Igbo versus Hausa. But what happens when the people unite under a single truth? That hunger has no religion, that poverty speaks no dialect, that bad governance doesn't care about your tribe. That is what Dino is awakening. And that is why 2027 is now more than just an election. It is a showdown, a reckoning, a final test of whether Nigerians are ready to take back their future or remain enslaved to a system that thrives on their pain. Look around you. What do you see? Fuel prices out of reach, electricity disappearing like a ghost, education a luxury, healthcare a gamble, security a prayer. And as these burdens crush the common man, those in power build mansions, fly private jets, and pass budgets that benefit no one but themselves. Yet when the people protest, they are called enemies of progress. When they cry, they are ignored. When they vote, their voices are stolen. But Dino Melaye is saying, enough is enough. He's not saying vote PDP. He's not saying support him. He's saying, open quote, wake up Nigeria. Your enemy is not your neighbor. Your enemy is the system that keeps you broken. Close quote. So what happens in 2027? Will Nigerians rise not just on Twitter, but on the streets, at the polling units, with their voter cards, their voices, and their vision? Will they remember the pain of today when politicians come bearing rice and wrappers? Will they vote not with fear or tribal bias, but with fire in their hearts and freedom in their hands? Because, make no mistake, APC is already preparing. They are already gathering. They are already planning the next script. But this time, they may face a Nigeria they've never seen before. A Nigeria that is tired of being fooled. A Nigeria that is united. A Nigeria that says, open quote, we choose freedom over fear. We choose our children's future over your stolen billions. We choose life, close quote. But that Nigeria is you. You watching this, you listening, you struggling, you dreaming. You are the revolution Dino Melaye is speaking of. You are the weapon the system fears. You are the reason 2027 can be the dawn or the death of a nation's hope. So what do you do now? You don't just sit and complain. You don't just share this video and go back to sleep. You don't just wait for another savior. You act, you register, you organize, you speak, you educate, you vote, you protect your vote, you demand results, you reject fear. Because the future of Nigeria is not in the hands of politicians, it is in your hands. And if Dino Melaye's bombshell means anything, it is this. The days of silence are over. The days of apathy are gone. The time has come for the people to rise, not with weapons, but with wisdom. Not with hate, but with unity. Not with violence, but with vision. Nigeria is not a playground for the wicked. It is a land of destiny, a nation of greatness, a soil soaked in sacrifice and soaked in sweat. It belongs to the people, and the people alone. And in 2027, let the world see something they never expected. Not an election, but a revolution of the ballot, a war without bullets, a battle fought with hope, hunger for change, and unbreakable unity. Let it be known, the people heard the call, the people answered, and the people won. Because in the end, this is not about Dino Melaye. This is about Nigeria, and Nigeria must rise.